Welcome to Step by Step. Every week at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we take you through painting a furniture piece step by step. Today we're going to be making over a French Provincial dresser for a little girl's room. So let's gather our supplies. We're going to need to clean the piece first. I believe this was in a smoker's home, so we're going to need to use Dixie Belle's White Lightning. And then of course we want a sprayer bottle, a mister bottle, some paper towels or a rag. Today we're going to use Dixie Belle's Slick Stick, and I'll explain what that's all about in a minute. We're going to use tea rose, and we're going to use pink champagne, and then we're going to use a little moonshine metallics in Wedding Belle. We're going to freshen up the drawers with Big Mama's Butter in Suzanne's Garden, and we're also going to use some spray wax, some easy peasy spray wax, and some brown wax. You'll need a few brushes and also a screwdriver to take off the drawer handles. So let's get started. So we've cleaned this piece thoroughly. The top of this piece has a really slick surface, very shiny. So what we're going to do to correct that so that it'll accept the paint is we're going to use a bonding primer, and it's called Dixie Belle's Slick Stick. So easier to use than it is to say. So I'm just going to use one of Dixie Belle's premium chip brushes and just coat the top of this piece. Super easy to use, and you can use 1 or 2 coats. If you get good coverage on the first coat, you should be good to go. We're using a pink called Tea Rose on this piece, and it's already white. So we're getting good coverage, so we're probably going to be okay with 1 coat. But as you see, it's super easy to use. It is white, so if you were using, if this were a dark color, you might want to put a couple coats on. Or when it's dry, if you felt it and it still felt kind of slick. This is also good if you're using, if you want to use paint on tile or floor. It just really helps. You can use Dixie Belle paint on anything like glass or metal or plastic, but Slick Stick really helps it last. 30 days is how long it takes for Dixie Belle paints to cure. So even if you do paint on those slick surfaces, it will cure in 30 days. But if you don't want to wait, you want to use Slick Stick. Painting myself in a corner, so I'm going to finish this. We already put a coat of Slick Stick on the top of the dresser, and now we're going to work on the drawers, which is the primary part of this dresser. So usually when you see me paint, I leave the hardware in there. But today we're removing the hardware, but we're going to come back to that. It's so pretty, isn't it? But right now we're going to put a coat on the top of the drawer. We already cleaned it, and you can see how stained it was. And we're using Dixie Belle's Tea Rose. It's such a pretty color. I have already been painting a little bit, so I have my brush in a plastic bag, a Ziploc bag. That's a great way to store your brush in between coats. If you're working at home and you have to, if you're distracted by something, then you can just put the brush in a baggie and there, off you go. Just don't forget to put the lid on your paint. I'm using a Dixie Belle mini brush, and I'm using this brush because it's big enough to cover the flat surfaces, but it's also small enough to get in these grooves, and you want to make sure that you get in there and get that paint in there. Now this is just a first coat, and this surface didn't require the Slick Stick. It really wasn't that slick of a surface, but this is what's called a scratch coat, and you'll see that the coverage isn't completely solid, so it'll need a second coat. But just to show you how easily this paint covers up everything that was there. I think every little girl from my generation had this dresser set when they were growing up. And it seems like this generation of little girls is getting the same dressers. And they're all getting painted with Dixie Belle paint, I hope. Okay, so there's a first coat. And now we're going to do a little blending. So we're going to use pink champagne as an accent color. Now, that'll have to dry and we'll come back and put a second coat on that. But we have a drawer here that we already have a first coat on. So we're going to do what we did before and put a second coat on this piece. And now you can see already the difference in the coverage. All of that unevenness is going away. Now I'm going to leave a little room in the middle of this because that's where I'm going to put the pink champagne color and blend it together. This should be a real easy blend because they're both pink colors, so it should be real easy to blend these two shades together. And then we're going to add some more magic to it with some Wedding Belle in Dixie Belle's Moonshine Metallics. We're also going to add that to the hardware, so it's just going to be beautiful. This is a custom order for a customer. Okay, so we have that, and we're going to leave that wet. Today, I believe we're going to, I'm usually using this to blend, but I'm going to use it as our color brush today because I think I'm going to do a dry blend here. That is something that you can do without using the mister, and you're just using that color to blend together. So just use the two brushes, and I'm going to come back and get the Tea Rose brush and just work those two colors together. You can paint right over it and then come back to it. We're just wanting a subtle highlight. See, we got a little brush hair, but that's basically all we want to do to it. I'm going to come back in and just put a little more tea rose around it. That's all we want, is a subtle highlight. So now we're going to add some Wedding Belle to the hardware of this piece. So I'm just going to use an artist brush, and it's really simple. It's just painting over this hardware. Now this will take 2 coats. So I'm just putting the first coat on here just to show you how easy it is. And this dries really quickly too. There's so many different colors of Moonshine Metallics, but I'm really glad I chose this one. It's such a pretty shade. It's not real bright gold like the Gold Digger color, which I love that one, but this one's really subtle, and it's just perfect for this little girl's dresser. So now I'm going to use the same Wedding Belle color. We've already blended the drawer front with the pink champagne, and now I'm just going to take an artist brush and just go in all these crevices. I'm going to set this down, it's easier to hold, and just go along and put the Wedding Belle color in the details. And if we get any on the outside, it's okay, because we can just take another artist brush with Tea Rose in it and just touch it up. Or not, you know, sometimes a little detail like that, it makes it look hand painted, which it is. But there, I got a little bit too much on there, so we'll definitely come back and touch that up. But that's all we need to do a little detail on there. So if you want to come over here, we have one that's already finished, and look how pretty it is. I just love these colors, but we have one more step. Actually 2 more, but we're going to take another step right now that's going to give this more of a vintage look and a more finished look. So we're using Dixie Belle's Easy Peasy Spray Wax, and we want to shake that up, and we're just going to spray over this entire piece. hardware included. Then I'm just going to take a paper towel or a soft cloth and just lightly wipe it. That really intensifies the color, and it also allows us to float our dark wax, because we're going to use a little bit of brown wax. So we're using, whoops, wrong stuff. That's next. We're going to use Dixie Belle Best Dang wax in brown, and just going to get a little bit on my brush, and I'm going to use some in the corners. And I know it looks harsh right now, but that's why we put the spray wax on first, so that we can manipulate this wax a little bit more. And it's still a little dark, but we're going to rub it in. And we're also, the beauty of using the spray wax is that we can actually use it sort of as an eraser. So we're going to come back and just put a little bit on the rag and put a little bit on there, and we can take some of that back. And we just want to leave it dark where it would naturally age. But we'll take most of that off the drawer front. Okay? And then we can use a little bit of the wax on the handles, because they would age a little bit. And just wipe that up a tad. And even a little bit around. We just want to give this a little bit of age. So we're just going to go the whole way around here. Just make this beautiful piece look vintage now. And again, it's a bit too dark, so we're going to use the Easy Peasy wax as sort of an eraser and just take a little bit of that back off. Just keep working it until you're happy with it. Okay, so now we've given it a little bit of age and character, and when we do the large part of the dresser, then we'll be adding a little bit more around the edges of the dresser. So now we have this in this position. We're going to do one final piece, and boy, I really wish we had smell-o-vision, because this is something that really sets it off. So now we're going to use Dixie Belle's Big Mama's Butter, and I often let the color of the piece dictate which scent I use. It's available in Suzanne's Garden, I smell roses, or Orange Grove, and it's also available in unscented. What this does is it just freshens up these drawers. We've cleaned the inside, and now we're just going to condition them and give the piece a little bit of good scent, so that it's just nice to be able to have the drawers smell sweet.
I want to thank you so much for watching today. I'd really love it if you like and share this video, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also visit us at lavintagedecor.company, on Instagram at lavintagedecor, and on Facebook we're Lavintage Decor Altoona. Thanks for watching and stay well.